Right, well, as you can see, I've got a little over half a bed since I've come earlies here, and I thought, um, as they're still quite green, they have been in for now 16 weeks. So I thought, time to lift them. So we'll clear this bed entirely. We won't clear the second bed. We'll clear this bed entirely. There's maybe one or two plants on the other bed that we might clear. I'll show you those separately, but I thought I'll clear this bed. If I can work out how to do time lapse, I'll do time lapse. Otherwise, if I can sit here for quite some time, watch at the back of my head as I harvest potato. Enjoy. These are true potato seed. You've seen that previously. These are highly poisonous. Do not eat them. You can use them to grow new strains of potatoes, but it's not generally recommended. It doesn't tend to give true seed. That will be whatever it happens to have crossed with, first generation F1 type arrangement. So yeah, most people don't bother unless you're a seed potato producer, like BT Browns or something. Quite a lot of holes in this one, so again. Oh, let's have a look. This is Accents 1989. Actually got one that's actually readable for a change. So. Wow, look at the size of that. The first early, that's huge, but they have been in the ground for quite a long time. Look at that. Or effectively one spud. These true potato seed are a good indication that the plant is flowered. It's set fruit, set seed like that. It means it's ready to go. All of these potato haulms, because they're not blighted, these will just get put into compost as normal. That again, it's another conjoined twin type syndrome here, all grown off the same primary. You probably see they're relatively small numbers with small potatoes, none of the pea-sized one. Again, that gives me an indication that it's reached the end of its fruiting, because they're all good sizes. Certainly first earlies, these are way beyond normal size, but then again, they have been in for probably 50% more time than I would normally give a first early. But me neither. They're all good, decent sized, medium sized, so to speak. potato, very different colour from the freshly dug one. That again is in excellent nick with more sprouts. I'll put that up by the camera because I intend on re-sowing this bed with Christmas potatoes. And here we go, that's the harvest from this bed. There's about 3 kilos of spuds put in here as seed. I'll weigh that up shortly, and that doesn't seem too bad. I will be replanting this with more potatoes, simply because this bed didn't have blight, and I need space to finish planting the rest of my Christmas potatoes on my main crop, really, for me. On the main crop beds, I won't be touching most of it. However, this one here, as you can see, we've got yellowing foliage, although we've still got a couple of flowers on it. If you look back at the base, it's on its way out. It's not got long left, so, and it has produced true potato seed. So I'll take these two out here, just this couple. I'm pretty sure they were a second early variety, may even been a first early variety that I got mixed up. I can't remember now. But either way, they look good and ready, so I'll take those up as well. And I'll give you a weigh in at the end. Before I go though, I will show you how I am planting my Christmas potatoes at the moment. Okay, as promised, I thought I'd bring you back. Now, this is how I go about planting my Christmas potatoes in relatively shallow beds. You'll see that that's less than a foot deep. So I trench out, just using a handheld one of these. Sprinkle a little bit of bloodfish and bone and a potato fertiliser in the bottom, and then place your seed potatoes in the bottom. Now, I've got a whole bag from last year of what I'd call smalls. So these are small potatoes I never got round to eating. Because they're small, I plant them fairly close together, and I'll just scoop it over the top. It really is as simple as that. Now, these are being grown as second earlies. I mean, these I'm fairly certain are not second earlies. I'm fairly certain these are sarpomeras, actually, just small ones. But I'll grow them as if they were a second early, which means they'll be growing for smaller crops. All the rest of this bed, that bed, and the one in the corner there are all Charlottes, which are a second early anyway. If you wanted to grow your main crops in a shallow bed like this would be completely inappropriate. You would need to hill up significantly over the level of this bed, because it just wouldn't be deep enough. But for growing on a single layer, which is what I'm intending, this is absolutely fine. This bed's, God, it's been amended twice this year. It's had all sorts in it, and will continue to have all sorts in it. And that diversification, that diversity allows me to grow all sorts of things at all sorts of times. So, you know, I haven't got to wait 3 years before I next grow potatoes in here. I'll grow a couple of crops in between next year, or after these are out. I might even put some winter crops in. Another quick catch crop in the summer, and it'll be ready for potatoes again. I don't really think that far ahead. I just plant in gaps with what I know needs to be planted. So it's not that that's the intent, but it gives me more scope. And certainly, if you look at the likes of Hugh Richards or Charles Dowding, they are not so fussed about crop rotation as you would be in a monoculture kind of environment. I don't grow quite as they do, which is multiple crops in a single bed, simply because it allows me to harvest an entire bed in one go, rather than backwards and forwards, a little bit here, a little bit there. And quite frankly, with 4 kids, I tend to grow in quantity anyway, as you can see. I mean, you've got these 3 beds, 6 foot square beds of potatoes. I'm going to be refilling the first bed that I've just emptied shortly, with more seed potatoes, and I have 4.5 beds, nearly 5 beds of potatoes, which are 8 foot by 3 foot at home as well. So we go through a lot of potatoes. So yeah, so that's how I do it. Fine for first and second earlies. I wouldn't do it for main crops. Normally I just sprinkle a little bit of soil on top before I put potatoes down there. For some reason I neglected to mention that. And away you go. Just give it a good water once it's first in, just to get it started. And away you go. Right. I did promise that I would show you the beds in the back garden. My neighbours have been doing lots of construction work in their garden, so I've not really had the opportunity to. If they've gone in for their tea when I get back, I'll take some footage and show you that. If not, then I'm afraid that's where I'll end it, and I'll bring you back to the next one. See you again. Okay, well, these are the first 3 beds. You'll see there's a couple of volunteers in the end of this bed, which is why I've converted it. This bed is also full of volunteers. There's a couple of sunflowers at the back. There's some spring onions that have gone over that I'll use for bulbing next year. And the rest of the beds here, all full of potatoes. And I'll show you as they grow. It's my sunflowers doing okay. Okay, and here we go. All weighed up. There's 17 kilos of potatoes there. I'd already taken 4 out of that bed, so that's 21 kilos from the bed. Normally you'd lay these out flat and cover them in order to allow them to cure. That's where their skins become slightly tougher, because when they come straight out of the ground they're very soft. Usually about 3 days before they go into a sack. I don't have anywhere to do that, so they're going to stay in the buckets covered with a dark blanket for 3 days, and I'll put them into the sack thereafter. If I do come across any that still have soft skins, thin skins, once I'm sacking them again, I can just leave them in the bucket, cover the bucket for another day or 2 to let them dry out, which typically happens at the bottom where you've got moisture trapped, and then sack them thereafter. They'll be graded into sizes for bakers, day-to-day eating, and then small ones. The small ones, which are sort of anything from 3/4 of an inch down, will actually be scrubbed and canned, pressure canned in mason jars to make effectively new potatoes, but the skins and everything will still be on. And I'll show you that as I do that. So as I get the pressure canner out and I'm doing that, I'll demonstrate how I do it. Lovely in the winter time just to be able to open up a can of those, and what I quite like to do, because they're cooked at that point, pop them in my active fry with a bit of oil or butter, turn them into like mini roasties. You pop them in your mouth and they just explode. Gorgeous. Anyway, yeah, that's it for the potato video, and I'll see you on the next one.